Everyone has heard of Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, or the Chupacabra. But almost no one knows about such a mysterious animal as the Nandi bear. And yet it is the Nandi bear that is the most mysterious and frightening animal in Africa. What is it? Fiction or myth? A figment of the fevered imagination, or a surviving representative of the most ancient fauna? Let's look under the veil of mystery. Nandi bear, if rumors are to be believed, its habitat is Africa. Other names of the Nandi bear are Sariti, oak, Kodumodumo, Chemosite, Keosite, and some others. Its main name, this mysterious animal, has received from the area inhabited by the Nandi tribe, and in whose territory this bear, allegedly most often seen. Growth: Nandi bear exceeds the height of the brown bear, about 130 to 150 centimeters at withers. In appearance, Nandi resembles a huge hyena. Its neck is almost impossible to see. Its back, like that of a hyena, slopes steeply down from the shoulder blades to the hindquarters, and is covered by a thick black coat. The entire body, including the limbs, is covered with wool, the color of which ranges from red-brown to dark. The ears are small and the muzzle is elongated. The animal moves with a shuffling gait that strongly resembles that of a bear. This mysterious animal is believed to be nocturnal. Rumor has it that the Nandi bear lives in East Africa, mainly in the forests of Kenya and Uganda. It is well known that bears are not found on this continent. Far beyond the Atlas Mountains, the natural range of the bear family has never been extended. The only representative of the family, the African bear, lived in what is now Morocco. But it, too, moved there from the Iberian Peninsula at a time when Gibraltar was a land bridge between Africa and Europe. The father of history, Herodotus, wrote about the existence of bears in Libya in ancient times. However, after him, there was no other written evidence of the existence of bears in Africa. Only 2,000 years after Herodotus, in 1668, the geographer and traveler Dapper noted in his notes that he had seen bears in the Congo whose size was much larger than that of the brown bear. However, the further enumeration of animal species made by this explorer indicates that his knowledge of zoology was very superficial. The Nandi bear is the most enigmatic animal of Africa. The peak of eyewitness accounts of the Nandi bear is in the late 19th and early 20th century. The bulk of the accounts came from Kenyan territories. After Dapper, African bears were not mentioned for several centuries. They were recalled again only after the British botanist and zoologist Geoffrey Williams returned home from an ethnographic expedition to the lands of the Kenyan Nandi tribe. As he was studying local folklore, he drew his attention to the oft-repeated accounts of a creature resembling a giant bear, which the members of the Nandi tribe called the Chemosite, and the English-speaking white colonists called the Nandi bear. To get a rough idea of this animal, the scientists showed the natives photographs of various animals, and all eyewitnesses unanimously asserted that it bore the greatest resemblance to the brown bear. Some time later, Geoffrey Williams was able to personally meet this animal. According to his claims, Nandi bear was indeed similar to the brown bear, only somewhat taller. The animal had small ears, an almost indistinguishable neck, and an elongated muzzle. Interestingly, the animal left no traces on the ground. Soon other members of the expedition met the strange animal and reported that it had come close to the tents at night. The author of the next written testimony was Major Toulson, who, in his 1912 notes, said that one night he was awakened by the cries of his guide. He was shouting loudly, claiming that the men had been attacked by a leopard. The major jumped out of the tent, but what he saw was no leopard. The unknown animal, in the way it moved, resembled a bear, only its front was slightly higher than its back, and its back was covered with very thick fur. Since it was very dark all around, the officer was not able to see the head of the animal. Interestingly, just a few days before the events described, the local Dutch had asked the major if he had seen a very bear-like animal that had attacked the dogs belonging to them. The creature owes its name to the area inhabited by the Nandi tribe, where this bear was most often seen. In addition, one of the builders who worked on the railroad spotted an unknown animal, at first mistaken for a hyena. However, this hyena was at least as tall as a lion, and the hair on its back was much thicker than that of a hyena. In addition, its nose was flattened, its legs were covered with thick fur, and its neck was very short. According to the Pokmo Aboriginal people, the Nandi bear is about as tall as a human, occasionally stands up on its hind legs, looks like a baboon, and moves most of the time on all four limbs. The creature has a long reddish-yellow fur, large teeth, thick front paws, a strong and short neck, and a mane on its head. The Nandi bear, from time to time, kept coming across to hunters. Typically, they described an animal that stood on its hind legs and could climb trees. Bob Foster, one of Africa's most famous hunters, claimed to have once seen an unknown animal that was somewhat larger in size than a man. It walked in a gait similar to that of a bear, had round, large ears and a long neck. As it approached the tree, it climbed it. The words of the hunter, who was not prone to exaggeration, aroused the interest of scientists, and they again conducted an experiment with photographs of various animals. The natives easily recognized the local animals in the photographs, but in the brown bear stubbornly saw a bear Nandi, with a real horror. This was because they believed that this animal had an evil spirit. In addition, one of the legends claimed that the Nandi bear feeds only on the brains of its victims, which also did not arouse much sympathy for him. It was extremely difficult to identify the animal on the basis of such rare, vague and sometimes contradictory testimonies. The common features, however, are the following: a solitary hunter, an aggressive nocturnal animal that can attack animals as well as humans, and capable of getting up on its hind limbs. It is worth noting that further evidence, accumulated little by little, has not clarified this mystery at all. On the contrary, it has confused it even more. As a result, cryptozoologists, who sought to classify this legendary creature, could not attribute it to any family. For example, one such later testimony claims that the Nandi bear is a half-human half-horn, which is capable of spewing fire and emitting terrifying screams. Another legend claimed that it was a very large beast, moving like a man. George Sandraft of Belgium in 1936, while in a watershed in the Congo, right in the afternoon, saw a small bear, black, with a slight brown tint. The animal was slightly smaller in height than a Carpathian bear. The curve of its back, the silvery triangle of hair on its forehead, the complete absence of a tail, and the shape of its head, indicated that it was a bear. A local official who accompanied the scientist also saw the animal and confirmed the ethnographer's words. Some native inhabitants of Africa call such a bear a honeyeater, a honeyeater. Some skins of honeyeaters are up to 1.1 meters in length. Then Sandraft assumed that the animal is a giant honeyeater. A certain Dr. Welsh decided to test this theory. To this end, he measured several live honeyeaters and 2 more skeletons of this animal brought from different parts of Africa. However, the difference in size was so great that one would have to assume that it was a separate subspecies Mellifera ratel. This is how eyewitnesses described the bloodthirsty cannibal bear Nandi. Another contender for the title of Nandi bear is the fossil Atlas bear. This animal is quite officially listed as extinct, already 4.4 million years old. However, the size of the Atlas bear, compared to the Nandi bear, is too small. In addition, the range of the Atlas bear is considered to be in northern Africa, where in fact his remains were found. And references to the Nandi bear come from the eastern part of the Black Continent. For this reason, some cryptozoologists have suggested that the animal is an extremely large member of the hyena family. However, the probability of this is extremely low, as well as the version that it is a gorilla. This is explained by the fact that both of these animals are social and almost never attack alone, preferring to stick to each other. Another, admittedly very original version, claims that the Nandi bear is a surviving descendant of the Halicotherians. The problem is that in the Pleistocene, this entire family of cloven-hoofed animals became extinct. The size of the Chalicotherium reached the size of a fairly large horse. The front three-toed or four-toed limbs of Chalicotherium are longer than the hind limbs, which have 3 toes and are more massive. It is worth noting that his feet did not have hooves, as in horses, but very thick claws. Its toes ended with nail phalanges, with which Chalicotherium could cling to a tree trunk. For representatives of this family, the elongated shape of the head and elongated neck are characteristic. In addition, the head of Chalicotherium is decorated with a small tuft. All this is quite close to the description of the Nandi bear. Complementing the similarity is a short tail of a reddish-yellow hue. And just as importantly, the natural range of the Chalicotherium is Asia and Africa. It is true that if the Nandi bear is a Chalicotherium, then there is a difficulty with its attacks on humans and other animals. After all, Chalicotherians were, for all their power, herbivorous animals. Sterling Lanier has a short fantasy story, His Only Safari, in which the main character accidentally encounters a Nandi bear and makes the assumption that there is some connection between this animal and the legendary Anubis. And if we consider that Anubis was the guide of the dead to the afterlife, it becomes clear why Africans have such a fear of the Nandi bar. Legends and stories of local residents say that at night the literary Nandi bar attacks sleeping residents and eats them. To get rid of the monster, the locals set fire to the huts along with the animal. Weapons have no power against it. What are the prospects for the Nandi bear? Africa, of course, has not yet been studied enough, and abounds in such, pardon the pun, bear corners, that they could harbor many more animals unknown to science. However, so far, neither scientists nor cryptozoologists have obtained evidence of the existence of the Nandi bear. Evidence of encounters with the Nandi bear cannot yet be considered as proof of its existence. Convincing evidence could be either found remains or other incontrovertibly reliable facts. But until this is not the case, the Nandi bear continues to be considered a cryptid. However, all is not so hopeless. The existence of some cryptids was still confirmed by finding the remains of these creatures.